We're going to turn to the Philippines now. People have been voting to choose their next president, and whoever wins takes over from Rodrigo Duterte. This was him voting today. He's a hardliner who's come to the end of his 6-year term in office. And it looks like this man, this is Ferdinand Marcos Jr., or known as Bongbong. Well, he's going to win, and he is the son of the Philippines' former dictator, Ferdinand Marcos, who was ousted back in 1986 after a brutal 21-year regime with widespread crackdowns and also martial law. The Marcos family became known for corruption and excess. Famously, when revolutionaries stormed the presidential palace, they found more than 3,000 pairs of his wife, Imelda Marcos's shoes. Now, Bongbong's running mate is Sara Duterte, and she's the daughter of the current president. His main rival is Leni Robredo. She's currently vice president and a liberal. Unofficial tallies show that Bongbong Marcos has double the number of votes than her. Millions of people have been voting today. The turnout is high. They're also choosing their vice president and members of parliament. But there have been issues with voting today. Here's Howard Johnson on that.
Voter turnout's been very high for this one, but there has been this big issue with nearly 2,000 machines broken, and that has really caused a lot of stress and anger. And we went along to a polling station in Makati and saw that 3 of the machines had been broken. We have heard of a story of one person who'd waited 13 hours from the beginning of the count to the end just to cast their vote. People were being told to leave their ballot papers behind and just trust officials that they would be pushed through. Normally you're supposed to receive a ticket where you can leave and say, I know who I'm voting for. But in many cases today, people didn't receive that ticket. And there's a lot of questions about the integrity of this election now.
So Howard Johnson there over the question of the integrity of the election. Let's talk to Dorothy Guerrero, who's the head of policy at the campaign group Global Justice Now. Now, Dorothy, you were part of the People's Movement that actually ousted President Ferdinand Marcos back in 1986. I wonder, help us to understand, how has his son turned this family's fortunes around?
Yeah, thank you for having me for this interview tonight. Well, indeed, the result is showing that the namesake and son of the former dictator is leading with a wide margin. The result actually proves that the Philippine election is still dominated by the political machineries of the political dynasties or political clans, where patronage politics deliver the votes. The dynasties and clans are the power gatekeepers. They have the financial resources to mobilize local candidates, traditional and symbolic leaders that campaign on the ground and organize on the street level. Robredo's non-traditional volunteer-led campaign, although very impressive, did not manage to match the financial resources and reach of the traditional politicians. So these political clans dominate the Philippine politics since the start of post-colonial governments, and the Marcoses are masters of this kind of politics.
So you've got that political class that you talk about. I wonder if you could just help us to understand Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte. What will they be like? It's quite an explosive combination when you think about their parents.
Well, yes, indeed. And well, for sure, they will continue Duterte's legacy. They will focus on they will also follow the policy on the drug against the war against drugs. But what is also sad about here is that Robredo already know that this campaign will be an uphill battle. But then at the same time, her volunteer-led people's campaign are simply inspiring. For 6 months, they generate a lot of inspiration. They put up a good fight. They managed to put on the social media and on media why people should choose a different candidate, that people should not choose on the names that they know. But sadly, the 6 months is not enough. The diverse networks, associations that supported them lacked time simply. And even if people see Robredo as the person that led them during the dark days of the pandemic, that did not transform into the votes that they were hoping. The real unity, though, is the phenomenon that there is now a movement that will demand for a new kind of politics, a more responsive, governance, and that is something promising and something that is worth watching. It is actually not just Robredo that has inspired and continue to inspire volunteers. For the first time in decades also, there was a campaign of trade union leader Leody de Guzman and the renowned left intellectual Walden Bello. They tried to explicitly run on a socialist platform that sought to deepen the political discourse in Philippine electoral politics and put a class analysis in their program. So if you ask what will be the politics from here on, I am expecting that Bongbong will for actually to start with, Bongbong ran to redeem his family's name. He wanted to cleanse his family's name. He will give a presidential pardon to his mother, who was convicted of 7 counts of graft.
Dorothy, apologies, we're running out of time, but it is certainly a family name that is as well. It's well known throughout the world, so it'll be fascinating to see how that develops when it comes to the results proper. Dorothy Guerrero, thank you so much for bringing us up to date with the Philippines election. Thank you.